Hi guys, welcome to this episode of Legally Brum. Today we are interviewing Karen Bailey. Jazz, please tell us who Karen Bailey is.
Sure, Karen Bailey is a principal solicitor who is based in the Birmingham City Centre. She set up her own firm, Bailey Wright Co, in 1996. She specialises in education, employment and family law. In fact, you may have heard of her because one of her cases that she worked on in employment was the theme of the film The Whistleblower.
So Karen, tell us a bit about yourself, what you do.
Right, I'm Karen Bailey and I'm the principal solicitor of Bailey Wright Co, and we're an award-winning firm specialising in children law, education and employment law, and we've been going since 1996, so that's 22 years now.
Oh, what made you set up your own practice?
I was a partner in another firm, and then I discovered that the values of the firm weren't what I thought they were. I also had my own management experience, and having thought about it and received advice from someone in careers and the encouragement of my husband, I thought, let's go for it.
How many people do you have at the firm?
There's only 5 of us, we're very small.
Oh, you guys must be quite close then.
Yeah, we get on really well, we're a good team, I do like them very much, but don't tell them.
Generally, firms your size don't tend to take on trainees and apprentices, so what made you come to the decision to take on?
I like trying to inspire, trying to get people who've got that spirit, that energy, that enthusiasm that we have for the work that we do, and you get that with young people, and I'm always convinced that they're going to come up with new ways, new angles of tackling legal issues and providing the service to our client. So we're moving with the times, and I hope that we'll grow people that way, the firm will grow organically, and that some of these people will be around long enough to take over from me.
What are the entry requirements that you look for candidates?
A to C at GCSE level, and that would be for if you're coming in as an apprentice, we'd want to see
It's all 9s and 10s, whatever it is now.
God,
I don't even understand.
I forgot about that.
Is one good?
So I think
9
one's
is
like a U and then a 9 is like an A.
right.
Well,
Apparently
the
it's like
benefit
a-
of all the
it's like-
students, you can be like, yes, a 1 is good.
Please can you explain this to us?
Can you let me know?
Yeah,
if you
apply if you got a 1.
Totally. You know, why can't this person spell?
Wait, is there even a 0?
They got a 1. So, and then two upwards for a degree, because really, especially in the competitive world, because it is so hard for anyone to get a training contract or
It
to get
really
a
is,
position in law. So even if you want to attract people who would not get a place in conventional law firms or would struggle to do so, you know, you've got to have some standards. You really do have to have some standards. And so, you know, 2 upwards I don't think is unreasonable. And then they've got to be interesting, and they've got to show that they've got some real interest in what we do, and some evidence of them having undertaken other than academic activities.
So you must get millions of applications for training contracts or just even work experience.
Quite a few.
How do you filter it out?
Well, we start off with a hi is a no or a bye. I says bye. And then text speak, little things. Basically, if you're going to be applying for something that is important to you, make sure you do it properly. When you've got the internet,
Attention to detail.
Exactly.
Spell check and all.
And words are our tools as lawyers, and so we have to make sure that we can use them appropriately. And so you've got to write a letter to us explaining why you want to work at our firm. So people who write and say they've always been interested in criminal law, because we don't do criminal law.
Yeah,
so,
do your research.
Yeah, exactly. So people who, or when people, it's quite clear their mums wrote it or their dads wrote it for them as well. Those ones. Oh, we had one the other day who ever said to me, done quite well. And then you turned over the page and it had the other bit of the template, insert name in it.
Oh God.
Nearly, but
So
no.
close, so close.
When people think of training contracts, traditionally they always think of big commercial firms and they have to do vacation schemes, VAT schemes, whatever you want to call them. how do people go about getting work experience in the areas of law that you practice? What do you think students and aspiring lawyers should do to make themselves like stand out?
Well, I think in terms of the number of lawyers wanting to do the kind of work I do, because bearing in mind 80% of the work we do is legally aided, and there aren't that many people wanting to go into legal aid work these times, for completely understandable reasons, because you are never going to be rich doing legal aid. You can apply for firms, and I think a number of firms would be only too happy to have somebody that they can give that experience to them. Or you can try other things that are related to your area of interest, and this applies for all sorts of things. So for example, you could volunteer with a domestic abuse charity, or if you are interested in crime, going to see if you can get work experience with the Criminal Cases Review Commission. So sometimes doing something a little off centre that's related to what you do, but related to your interest, but isn't actually necessarily straight away in law firm, because it looks good on your CV as well as being interested. So it's about thinking, what is my interest? Who works around my interest?
Thinking
if
outside
I'm not
the
in
box,
a law firm, where can I get that experience? Because understanding where your clients are coming from is just as important as understanding and knowing the law.
In terms of Birmingham and young professionals, not just young professionals in their 20s and at university level, but even at school, like in year 10, 11 and in sixth form, what can they do in terms of networking at that age? Because obviously at our level there's loads of networking organisations, but what do you think the city has to offer and what's going on and that kind of thing?
It's a very good question.
Yeah.
And maybe you ought to do something about it.
Damn.
Ooh.
Wasn't expecting that.
Threw that back at us, didn't you?
You tell me, young people.
I would say I think it's really important at that age to sign up to loads of mentoring programs, attend a lot of workshops that sixth formers that schools do. There's also the careers fairs, like local ones around the city. There's some specialist ones as well for certain careers. So like I know for like medicine they do some kind of work experience at that level.
But also getting into school, I mean, one of our big things is educating the public, particularly young people, on not only their rights but also your responsibilities as a citizen. And so in the past we've worked with schools and taken classes talking about these things. We died down, but we're going to start it again shortly, and also move into even primary school. We want to work with primary schools.
So if you want your school to... No, I'm kidding.
I think it's so difficult though in this day and age attracting young students, like, you know, at high school, because they're so influenced by this whole social media and, you know, Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and all these different all these different platforms, that they're more focused on being an influencer in that area and less focused on the academics and you know, the professional careers. Do you know
I think
what
there's
I mean?
a lot of distractions these days, because when obviously we had MSN.
Oh yeah, the good old days.
But you know, like other things, but there's so much out there. There's always something new, iPads, tablets, and you get distracted by those things.
But the thing is, that's I think it's interesting. I mean, I haven't worked it out how you do it yet, but these are just ways of communicating.
Yeah.
And even if you're interested by those things or being influenced as to, you know, how your eyebrows should look or something like
Flicky.
that, you're still going to need... Of course, you're still going to need to know about law. People still are interested in justice and rights and fairness and that kind of thing. And if you're being stuffed at your job, you want to know what you can do about it. There's all sorts of reasons, you know, you split up with someone, you're worried about your kids or something like that.
You need protection
law
in every
comes into
area.
everything.
You need that. And so it's about communicating these things to people in a way that interests them. And I just think that using social media and influencing, it's about developing it, you know, because lawyers can be a bit dry and crusty, and it's about putting it across in such a way that people are interested, that people feel that passion for justice that others of us have that have gone into the law.
Yeah, I think programs like Suits help. Have you ever watched it?
Does
Of
it?
course.
Is that really?
Yeah.
But you know,
Yeah,
after
because
what's
people
his
wanna have that
face,
glamorous
after
life.
what's his face went into prison, I stopped watching
My
it because
Cross, yeah.
I watched it. I've watched it for a few, and I just
Yeah,
thought,
it
no,
wasn't
this
very
is
good
just
after
getting
that, was it?
silly.
Yeah.
But when I've gone to law fairs, students come up to us and like, "So does your firm like suits?"
Oh no! But I mean, that's American for a start off.
It is, but everyone thinks that by getting into, like, when I was a paralegal, how many people said to me, "So you're like Rachel from Suits?"
Yeah.
I was like, "That's exactly who
And
I am."
also, the thing that's really annoying about those programs, if you noticed, like their files are about that thick.
Yeah, and they
also
always
say,
go,
absolutely. So there's not enough
And
paper.
then they keep like settlement letters in the suit pockets, like you ever turn up
Yes.
to a client meeting, like.
And also, you know, one minute they're sorting out some multi-million deal,
Next
and then
minute
the
they got
next
some
minute-
pro bono thing going on,
exactly,
like.
or they're representing some criminal. You know,
Yeah.
just do. Each person is a
everything.
firm.
Yeah.
There's about 6 firms embodied in that. It's ridiculous.
And they think like what you allocate one day to one client that is not like that
But
at all.
that's an interesting thing, actually. Because back in the olden days, now people tend to be much more specialist.
Yeah.
Whereas back in the olden days, you used to do have much more general high street practices. More practices were high
Yeah.
street, and everybody used to train and doing lots of different things. So, like I've done welfare benefits, housing, obviously family, did PI, did crime, and practiced all those sorts of things. And you could have cases where, you know, different cases going on, and then they said, no, we want you to start specialising, which is a good thing, and I enjoy specialising. But what it does mean is that if a client comes in with a certain type of problem, it's easier for me to pick up what that sort of problem is, because I've got a more general background in law. And so I can say, well, no, it's not, you don't need me for this is what you need to be doing. And so that's quite good. And
Yeah, I think that's the benefit. Yeah, that's one of the benefits of a training contract, because you get that varied experience.
I wanted to extend my training contract, honestly. Like, it was kind of like, oh no, I want to experience more areas of law. How do you think the Birmingham legal market has changed over the, not last few years, but like the last so many years?
Centuries.
Okay, not centuries, but you know.
When I qualified, it was the last century.
No, it wasn't.
It's changed massively.
Yeah.
So I can't remember how, but DLA Piper,
Yeah.
that used to be Dib Lupton Allsop, and it was a smallish firm, not a big. We
Yeah.
didn't have these massive firms back in the day. You had firms that seemed quite big, but nothing compared to the international giants that we seem to have at the moment.
Yeah.
And so there is, I mean, like Gowlings. Gowlings was rags, wasn't it, before? But now look at it, it's you know, doing all the mergings and things, and look, it's spreading all over the place. So what I think is really nice, Eversheds is another one that was good. So some of these international giants started out, at least part of them started their lives as quite large Birmingham firms, and the equivalent of a quite large Birmingham firm, let me think. Well, the ones that would be the size that they were back in the day, you probably wouldn't have even heard of now, if you know what I mean. So, so that's changed. You've got those big firms, and it's kind of nice to think that they grew out of Birmingham firms anyway, and they're now spreading across the globe. And you're seeing firms from London who are wanting to have offices here. What I also think is interesting is from the barrister's point of view, you're getting more chambers opening Birmingham.
Chambers.
Birmingham offices here. We've got 3PB that have come up now and stuff like that. So I think the legal market in Birmingham is getting increasingly stronger. You can see that it's getting stronger all the time.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Karen, and
You're
taking the time
welcome.
out of your evening to come and film this show.